Hi everyone, thank you for joining. My name is Dorri. I am the owner of the Downtown Spa located in the beautiful community of Georgetown, Ontario. I am also the host of our new program called Chit with Dorri. I do have a co-host, Dr. Lorraine Wilson. We're so excited and grateful that you decided to join us today as we kick off our program called Age, It's Only a Number. The reason why we chose this program this month is that yours truly will turn 63 in a couple of weeks, and I do get a lot of questions about anti-aging, especially for skin, body type things. So I wanted to address and talk about all of the questions and get them answered for you. Just so you know, oh, there's Dr. Lorraine Wilson. Hi. She is our co-host. She is a clinical therapist specializing in stress management and relaxation techniques. Lorraine today is also going to be our special guest educator, and we're going to talk about the mindset of healthy aging and just in general. We also have, today we're going to draw for a prize at the end of our program today, and it's going to be for a reading from Dr. Lorraine Wilson, right?
Yeah. And we're going to draw the tarot card too for today, for the week.
Perfect. So everybody's got to hang on and watch us till the end. You'll get some insight as to what's going to go on for you today and maybe for the rest of the week. Just get a little bit of insight on what's going on out there in the world. So Dr. Lorraine is talking today about mindset of aging. And I did a little bit of homework and I looked up actually, what is the definition of mindset? Everyone is using mindful mindset. This seems to be, the word of the century right now. So what is a mindset? Mindset is a set of beliefs that shapes how you think and how you make sense of the world, not only for others, but yourself. It influences how you think, how you feel, and how you're going to have an outlook on any situation. It's an established set of attitudes. We all know about attitude. Attitude is key. Your belief system, can you change it? Can you help it? Can you adjust it? That's what we're going to learn all about today. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Away, Lorraine.
Awesome. Yeah. So what I want to do today is I want to give everybody some information about the mind-body-spirit connection. And the way I want to do that is I want to look at sort of the what ifs and yeah buts that we can come up with as we have resistance to change, even if we know it's good, and back it with scientific studies. So you will know that it's not just hocus pocus, that we're actually on a scientifically based wellness strategy for a holistic experience of well-being. Now, one thing to remember, it's a little bit of a caution, is that don't, take this information and throw out any medical care you're receiving. We're not here to supplement, we're not here to usurp the medical practice. We're here to complement it. So all the information you receive today can complement your medical advice and treatments. It's not going to thwart it or compromise it or be in any negative response to it. But if you have any concerns or questions, please go to your medical practitioner and ask, right? Because it's always good to feel confident in what you're doing. But I just want to give you that assurance that, keep doing what you're doing. We are not replacing medical practice or your doctor's advice. We're just going to give you information to supplement it from a scientific basis. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you a diagram. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you. And don't answer, don't, it can fit both in. Don't answer, loud unless you want to, because I can't hear you. You don't have to put it in the chats, but in your head, just think, what do you see? And most people will say something along the lines of 3 dots, two eyes and a nose, planets in space, you know, stuff like that. But what 99.99999% of everybody will not say is that there's a whole heck of a lot of white. And so the point of this is to demonstrate that the power of our focus. So what we focus on becomes our perception of what is. There's nothing in this piece of paper that doesn't say there's a whole bunch of white there. But when our focus is on the black dots, that's what we see. And that becomes our reality. And we miss the context of the whole. So in a holistic practice of wellness and well-being, what we want to do is, we're not saying the black dots don't exist, but what we're saying is that there's a whole lot of white in everybody's lives. And if we can access and tap into the white space, in addition to recognizing that these black dots exist, we're going to be a whole heck of a lot healthier and better for it. So that's kind of the focus today, is looking at information that will help us focus. Yes, I see that comment, Karen. Thank you. Yeah, that analogy is helpful for many people. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now some people go, oh, phooey hooey, what is the mind-body connection? And if we just look at it on a practical level, we use this all the time in our lives. So we say, oh, I have butterflies in my stomach. You don't have butterflies in your stomach. What you're saying is you're so nervous, you're feeling queasy in your tummy, right? Or we would say something like, oh my God, I'm sweating buckets. You know, and it's not because of hormones, or it's not because it's hot outside. It's because you're really nervous before an event, you know, like, oh my God, I'm sweating. So our bodies can give us a response, a physiological response to what we are thinking in our head, right? So if we understand mind, body, spirit and that connection better, then we're going to have 3 avenues of wellness and not just little black dots to focus on. So here's the list of what ifs, yeah, buts and what ifs, okay? So some people will say, oh, it's my genes, right? I am genetically predisposed to be a nervous Nelly, or I'm genetically going to be whatever, right? So if there is truth that you have genes, and there is truth that those genes do influence things with you, but it's not true that genes and genetics are your destiny. So you can have whatever you're born with on your DNA, right? But it's not unable to be influenced by your choices, by your focus. So there's a whole area of genetics for study, and it's called epigenetics. And what epigenetics does is it focuses on what behaviors and what environmental factors can influence the way your genes work. And what they've found, people who study epigenetics, is that up to 95% of our genes can be influenced by our behaviors and by our environmental choices. That is huge. So your genes are not your destiny, just so you know. So that's one thing. The other yeah, but what if is, oh, I'm too old to learn. My brain is what it is. I'm not that smart. My dad wasn't that smart. My brother's not smart. I'm not smart. You know, and you just sort of like kick back and go, yeah, I guess it is what it is, right? And that is a complete fallacy, because what the research points to is that we have something called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is the flexibility of our brain to learn. And what we have found is that our brain is able to learn and adapt right up till the day we die, in most cases. So choosing that you're too old to do something is a choice. It's not a biological, physiological, cognitive reality. It is a choice. So what needs to happen is you have to treat your brain like a muscle. Like you go to the gym to work your arms or your heart, so you have to do activities to exercise your brain. And what those activities are are generally new tasks and skills. In all the studies that are done, none of them, as in zero, say sitting on the couch getting fed your favorite TV show is going to enhance your neuroplasticity, right? That is not going to happen. It might be fun, you might enjoy it, but it's not going to enhance your neuroplasticity. So here's how neuroplasticity can be enhanced by our choices, right? So there was these two people, Willett and McGuire, and they did a study on London, England taxi cab drivers who have to memorize thousands of routes and street maps before they get their taxi license. And they compared them to comparable people who did not have to do this taxi testing, learning kind of stuff. And what they found was that the hippocampus, which is the center for memory and learning in the brain, was bigger, physically bigger in the people who were the taxi cab drivers because they focused on learning that material for their jobs. The other areas of memory and learning were comparable to the control group, but for the taxi drivers, they actually physically increased this brain location area in their brain, the hippocampus, to accommodate what they focused on, which was, I have to learn all these thousands of streets and routes. Then there was another study by Machne et al., which means, and his friends, or his colleagues, and they were doing neuroplasticity in older adults. And what they found was that, adults could learn at any age. And it wasn't dependent on their age. It wasn't dependent on anything really except giving them the ability and the choice and the option to choose to learn. And they could do it. And then there was this other neat study where they took a group of people and a control group. And for the study group, they had them go back to 1959, which they actually lived in, and which was a period of youth for them. And the TV shows were 1959, the jobs were 1959, the clothes were 1959, the topics, the food, everything was 1959. And when they tested their memory levels based on tests after this experiment, what they found was that they were actually cognitively 1959 in their heads. They were actually that age in their memory function and their memory abilities. So what they are concluding in terms of the research is that sometimes, many times, we act your age, right? We act how old we are supposed to act when we are a certain age. And that is a choice. That is not a destiny or a reality or anything to do with your brain, right? That's just a choice that you have. Now, there's another area of study because people say, well, it's one thing to think, it's one thing to have tasks, it's one thing to have genetics, but I just can't control my thoughts or my feelings. Like, I'm a very emotional person, and it's an excuse for behaving in a way that maybe you don't have to behave if you made other choices. So this is what the research says. So there was this person, his last name is Maruda, and he has colleagues, and he did a 30-year study of 447 people. And what he found was that optimists, people who had a positive attitude, a good outlook on things, were enthusiastic about existence and life, they had a 50% less risk of death and pain. So not only was their lifespan longer, significantly longer than the negative Nancy's in the control group, but their quality of life was better. Like, they weren't riddled with pain and disabilities and all this kind of stuff. So there's another study, like there's millions of studies. I'm just giving you some examples. There's another study by this guy named Giltay, and he had his colleagues too. And they studied 999 Dutch people of like adults, seniors, adults, and children. And they wanted to study them to say, okay, of any cause of death, well, how do the optimists fare, people with good attitudes, and how do the pessimists fare? And what they found in that study was for any cause of death, optimists had a 45% lower rate of dying than the negative Nancy's did. So again, it's attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So here's another a really nice study. This was on hostility in married couples and the impact of hostility on heart problems. And so this guy, Smith and his colleagues, he studied all these married couples and how they interacted with each other, and then looked at their heart problems. And what he found was that married couples who were hostile in their interactions with each other had a significantly greater chance of heart disease and heart problems than people, woohoo, somebody's an optimist. We have so yeah, so people who were nice to their spouses and that weren't hostile had significantly less heart disease and heart problems than people who were hostile. And so what the research is indicating is it's not just good to be positive, it's also really important to be kind. So you can't just be like, Ray, you know, sunny side up, I feel great today, and then treat your spouse like shit, right? You can't. It's not going to equal wellness, wholeness, and all this kind of good, fluffy stuff, right?
Yeah.
You got to be kind. So this is what the research is actually supporting, you know, be kind movement, but it's scientifically supported, you know, to be kind and to be positive. You are going to benefit. I mean, it's nice that you're not going to be a jerk to people, but you yourself are going to be so much happier, and you'll have
Rewarded.
Right?
Yeah.
Pretty fun. Now, some people say, well, I got it all going on, but I can't get off the couch because I love it, right? I love TV or whatever you do, you know, your crafts or whatever. I love it. And what the studies are showing is that attitude sucks, because if you don't move, you're not going to groove. Like, you are not going to have the benefits of a total well-being experience. So this guy, Heffron, he did this study on moving. And it wasn't like, you know, being a triathlon or going to the gym. It's just getting your freaking butt off the couch, right? Like, just move, do anything. And what he found was that moving bodies, all the people who participated, moving bodies improved energy. It increased a self of mastery and self-efficacy, which is like, yay, I can do it, like that attitude. And it also significantly decreased depression and anxiety. So sometimes, like, if you are in a funk and you just don't have it to be cheery about anything because your life is so terrible from focusing on the black dots, you can move, right? You can go for a walk. You can walk up and down the stairs, maybe in your apartment building or whatever, and you will physically impact in a positive way the levels of depression and anxiety that you feel. It's fact, right? That is going to happen. So that's moving on a physical level, like sort of just getting your body moving. But then there's all this research about changing yourself cellularly. And people think, ooh, that's like really scary and weird. But if it works, whatever, right? Because you don't have to do anything invasive. So it's pretty fun. So here's what the research says. So there's this researcher, he's out of the University of Toronto. His name's Lee Bartels, Dean, head of research, yada, yada, yada. So what he does is he looks at music as medicine. So most people get that they love music, right? It can make them feel better. It can do this, it can do that. But what he does is he focuses the research into music as medicine. And so what he says is that everybody, all of us, we're all made up of cells and atoms, and those are constantly moving. And so there's a concept in physics called entrainment. And what entrainment means is that if this cell is going like this and this cell is going like this, eventually they're both going to go like this, right? Because that's just the way the body works. And eventually this is going to happen. Now, in a disease like Parkinson's, you have this, and this, and it doesn't go like this ever, right? It just kind of gets worse, and that's where you get the shakes and stuff like that. Or in dementia, you don't have the entrainment happening, and so that's a problem because you have the symptoms. So what Dr. Bartel did was he conducted these studies with sound, and what he found was that the body's cellular frequency vibrates optimally at around 40 hertz. And if you surround yourself either through your hearing or through a vibrating kind of chair or something like that, you can make your cells do this, right, when they don't feel like it. And this will enhance your healing because that is your optimal cellular way of behaving. And so what he did to prove his theory was he did studies with people with Parkinson's and studies with people with Alzheimer's. And what he found was that with Parkinson's, when they had a prescription of 40 hertz sound frequencies 3 or 4 times a week for half an hour to 40 minutes at a session, the shakes, the symptoms of Parkinson's decreased. And with Alzheimer's, what he found was that it's not that Alzheimer's went away, but the degradation of functioning was halted. It was suspended while these music as medicine treatments at 40 hertz continued. Now, the next cellular great stuff that I want to tell you about, I'm going to pop it over to Dorri, but it's along the lines of pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And this is awesome. It's been scientifically proven for animals and people to help with depression, bone fractures, all kinds of stuff. And this is something that's available at the spa. So Dorri, if you want to help out here and tell us about that.
Absolutely. Awesome. Absolutely. So our device is called the CKEX. It is made in Italy. It's equal to that of the Earth's magnetic field, available for all kinds of conditions. But what I want to point out first is that it is a proven fact as well that your mind and body are definitely connected in the way that anxiety, depression, negative thoughts has an impact on you at a cellular level. So when you are, as Dr. Lorraine called negative Nancy's, I thought that was quite, clinical. These cells become shortened and they end up dying. So we know that we're made of cells, trillions of cells. So when they start dying off, we are aging. Your skin cells die, you get wrinkles, right? Our CKEX machine promotes cellular growth and rejuvenation. So if you are combating any conditions, it all boils down to the aging of the cell. The cells become hard, they become less permeable. That means no nutrients from within your body at a natural level. No minerals are getting into your cells. So you are having premature aging. Okay, and we know that we're aging. There's no way of, well, there's only one way of stopping that, but we don't want to do that, right? We can still have the spirit of being 35. That's our mindset. If we want to be 35, so we can. But anti-aging at a cellular level is key. It's key. I learned this years ago going to Italy for training on the CKEX. But as I was doing a little bit of research myself, I came across numerous studies from scientists that made sense in the fact that your mind is definitely attributing to premature aging if you are in a negative state. Now you can switch it up, but as we talked before we went live, and like you said in numerous examples, you can do, meditation was one of the things that in every study, it was one of the key points that you can do to make yourself, have a different outlook on life and that, switch things up a little bit and be more positive. But like you said earlier, you can't do a meditation for 10 minutes and then spend the rest of your 22 hours being negative, right? So it's got to be a little bit of a transition on your own, and if you need, assistance, then seeking out help is definitely beneficial. But the CKEX is here for anybody that would like to use it. Of course, once we open, it's it's here and available. And I know some of the clients that are on with us today actually have purchased them. And Karen, get back on there, okay? Anti-aging at a cellular level. Can't beat it. It's science and it works.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to, talking about mindfulness there, Dorri, I have a couple studies to back up what you're saying.
Okay.
And the one study was done by Goldberg and his colleagues, and it was a meta-analysis by 12,005 people. So it was huge. And what he did was he studied everybody else's studies to see what significantly worked, and he was studying mindfulness, which is just like taking a step. Oh, you don't physically do this because you can't, but psychologically taking a step away from yourself and being aware of how you're feeling, how you're acting, sort of like observing yourself so you can kind of slow down your reactivity to things. And so what he found was that all of the 12,000 people had official psychiatric disorders that they were diagnosed with, and all of them had mindfulness as part of their prescribed therapy. And what he found was that mindfulness was significantly effective for these psychiatric patients who had depression, pain, smoking problems, and addiction problems. So that was like a really huge, significant confirmation about the impact and importance of mindfulness. And then the other study that was done was by Jareth, Crawford, Barnes, and Hardin. That was in 2015. And they looked at breathing and self-regulation, which is a huge part of meditation, and its impact on symptoms of ill health that people had. And what they found was that breathing and self-regulation as a practice, and it takes about 2 months, right? Because, little sidebar, so your cells, all of your cells in your body will replace themselves in 2 months. So if, like, we have peptides which communicate messages to the cells from the brain, so if we have positive messages coming into the brain through the peptides into the cells, and the cells are regenerating, we can replace our negative cells with positive cells. So we can actually from a cellular level, produce positivity at a greater rate, once we do this discipline. And this part of the discipline is with breathing and focused relaxation. So there's 3 things that are super easy to do to get everybody started. Super, super easy. So the one thing is to be grateful. This really includes the positive attitude and looking on a realistic sunny side. So even if your life is shit, or you think so because you're looking at black dots, it's going to be way better than probably 95% of the people in the world, because we're so lucky to live here. So being grateful for what you do have is the first important step towards holistic well-being. The second thing is stop complaining. Now, this is different from talking to somebody about what's on your heart, right? That's good for you, but just being the negative Nancy is not good. So stop complaining. And the third thing is be kind. And that it will round you out totally, because research is showing that it's not just the attitude of kindness, but it's things like giving. And it's not based on how much you have. It's that you give without the expectation of return, right? So it's not an exchange, it is a gift, but that you give. And a giving self reinforces the positivity that can happen in the internal change at the cellular level. I mean, we are way stronger than we would ever think we are. And we can do it for sure. Yeah.
Yes,
Yay.
we can. Yes, we can.
And that should be our.
Together we are stronger. I like to
Yes.
start my day every day with a grateful prayer and, you know, whatever you decide, breathing in positivity, exhaling negativity, however you want to visualize it, however you see it, it's a great way to start your day. I read a little comment last week or whenever it was, and it said, one small positive thing in the morning can change your entire day. So why not? Why not?
Well, and that's the great psychological question.
Mm-hmm. Why
If you
not?
do it and it's no effort, no cost, and you're not doing it, why not? Like, why?
Exactly. That's a whole other segment.
For sure. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That was very, very interesting. A lot of takeaways there, a lot of things to think about and do. Before we end it off, we are going to do a draw, and how we're going to do the draw, our little assistant here, Erica, was taking the names down of everybody that was joining us today. So for today, you didn't have to, intermingle with us or comment, just for showing up. We are going to do a draw, and this is for a reading, Dr. Lorraine, from you.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm just going to tap the wheel and spin it and let you know who wins.
I'm going to tell everybody who's like watching us today, Erica is like the backbone. She is awesome.
Okay, so we have a winner, but I'm just going to, do you want to just show it somehow? There's not a name attached to it, but there's our winner.
I hope I don't have to pronounce that.
Yeah, we'll send them a message and just let them know, okay? And would you like to flip a little card for us today and give us some insights on what's going on in the world around us?
Okay, so with the tarot, I believe that spirit wants to talk to us all the time. We have difficulty, of communicating and stuff. So I use the tarot cards as a tool. It sorts out kind of what I think from what spirit thinks, and I find that it's very helpful for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is I will shuffle the deck, and then I'll ask the question of the deck. So the question is, what would spirit like our Instagram Chit Chat with Dorri viewers to know for their week ahead? What should the focus be? All right. So then what I do here is I will pick a card, and there's 78. So you have a 1 in 78 chance of getting something, and then I'll tell you what it means. Okay. So just let me pick a card here. Okay. Here's the card. So this is the Empress reverse. And what this card represents is people who are really busy loving others before themselves. And what the card is inviting us to do is to take this week as an opportunity to focus on ourselves and focus on what do we need to do for ourselves, what do we need for self-love. Because sometimes what happens is when we're loving other people before ourselves, what we create is something called codependence, where we need them to need us so we feel loved. Mm-hmm. And when we switch that around, when we love ourselves first, then we can love others so that they are free to love themselves, right? So we don't need them to love us so we feel good. We can love ourselves, and then we have energy to love them. So one of the things, like for this week, I would suggest, this is not the tarot, this is me, would be, any of those 3 things that, I had suggested, like maybe practice being grateful, practice not complaining, practice being kind, right? And those are all forms of self-love because you will change your attitude and you will become a positive person that has energy for you. Okay?
Perfect. That lined up so well. It
I
all
know.
meeting
It's like,
has
wow.
so much meaning for us. Well,
Yeah.
I would like to thank all of you for joining in, and we will be back next Thursday, 12:30, once again. So thank you so much, and we are so grateful that you showed up for us today. Bye for
Okay.
now.
Bye.
Bye.